Hi, everybody. I'm Maria Schultz, and welcome to our presentation on New England and our Cape Cod autumn foliage. I'm with Kit Marocco from Mayflower Tours, who's going to be talking a lot about the tour today. A couple things I want to tell you about. This is a little different than we originally said we were maybe going to do for you. New England's a favorite place of mine. It's been a long time since I've been out there. As most of you know, Terry and I love to do our bucket list. And this time it is places we have been, plus a couple bucket list places that we've not been. We decided, since we're all just starting to travel again, it's time to add a couple bucket lists to some familiar things with it. I'm all ready to go. As I said, I'm drinking my Maple Pecan Green Mountain coffee because we're going to be in both the Green and White Mountains on this trip. It's going to be fun. I laughed as we were talking with my coffee, and you see I've got one of my tourist pickup coffee mugs. One of the last times I was here, and Kent, you'll get a kick out of this, as well a couple others, we were in Iceland a couple years ago, most of you know, with our trip, and one of the ladies that I kind of recognized but wasn't sure came up to me and she said, "You don't remember me?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting old, faces and names," but I said, "I do, kind of." And she hands me a picture, and it's a snapshot. It was taken at Lake Winnipesaukee, where we are going to be going. It was at one of the overlooks there 30-some years ago, and she said, "My mother and I were on your New England tour, and this was taken 30-some years ago on your New England fall foliage tour with you." I mean, talk about a fun memory to have, with it. And it was like, and the minute I saw it, I went, "Oh my gosh, of course I recognize who you are." But it was a good time. It was a good time. So anyway, we're going to be doing some fun things. As you know, when Kent and I get talking, we kind of get butting in, and I chit-chat a lot here with him. But Kent, go ahead and take it away, and let's talk about New England in October. High point for the leaves. Fun area to go to.
And of course, we're talking about peak season and a place to go in 2021. So a lot of us are anxious to get back to traveling, but certainly when you think of 21, let's pick something easy, something safe. And we feel Maria's picked a great one here.
Well, the fun part is, in August, we're going with you to Oregon. So we are going to be on the far west coast and on the far east coast this fall. So what a way to get back to travel.
Sounds like a great year, Maria. We're going to share the screen for you that are watching live. If you do have a question, feel free to if you put your cursor across the screen, you'll see some buttons pop up. There's a Q&A section on the bottom and a chat room. And before we let you go today, we're going to make sure you get all your questions answered. Otherwise, you all know how to find Maria and Rhonda with registrations. And you'll be able to ask those questions later. But if you do happen to want to type something in, you're more than welcome to. So with that, I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to get on to this wonderful program. This is the 8-day program. I love about 8-day programs. It's just right. We love to fly to our destinations. By flying to the destinations, we don't have that 3-day motor coach to and from. But I know some of you love to motor coach, but the flights we're going to flip over there and back. So here's a wonderful shot, Maria, of course.
Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam.
Amsterdam cruise 2 years ago.
With Terry. And of course, if you don't know Terry, you will soon. Another great traveler. And can't hold these people down. It's this bucket list that we go after every year. And this year will be no different with the New England Cape Cod autumn foliage. You'll see we're departing this fall, October 7 through 14. So nice little 8-day getaway, as I mentioned before. Just a brief history with the Mayflower Company. My name is Kent Van Ruckel. I proudly represent Mayflower Cruises and Tours. And we were about to celebrate our 40th year when the gentleman on the left, that is Glenn Maroney. Glenn started his company back in 1986. And right in the middle, you see in 2018 where he acquired the Mayflower Company again on our 39th year. He bought us. It's been a wonderful partnership, a great blend. Glenn he designs and owns river ships across Europe. So what a great partnership. And that's kind of our background. But more important, when I deal with Maria, she's a really nice gal, but she gets a little tough on me because she likes everything included. So we start with the pre-night to meet your travel colleagues at a Des Moines Des Moines airport hotel, two airports, at a local, and that's a great way to not worry about the transfer to get there. Often with domestic flights, not gonna lie, often they're morning flights, and it's so much more convenient to be in. So, Marlia, we've got the pre-night included, correct?
No, but this time it's going to be an extra charge because we're not sure what our airline's going to be as far as our timing to get into town. It may be a little bit late. We've got some that are supposed to come in.
Okay, because when I jumped on this one, we kind of added this program fairly quick because again, people were asking for a local place. So we'll see when those flights, but the arrangements can be made to be in that Des Moines area, and a great way to meet your travel colleagues as well. Once we fly, we're flying out of Des Moines, of course. We have the baggage handling. So from hotel to hotel, those transfers, baggage handling are included. We love modern, update, nice transportation modes. We have great tour managers. So as much as we know Marlia, she's got a story about everything. She researches more than people. She's going to have all kinds of. We still have a professional tour manager along the trip as well. With that, when we get to destinations, we like the local step-on guides. They live there. They pay the taxes there. Always have some interesting stories. So you'll
That's Budapest.
It is with Marlia, a professional guide and step-on guide. You know you're going to be in great hands. So we love nice dining.
I'm a firm believer of you get to an area and you let the people that live in and know that area tell you about it. You can't know the ins and outs of everything. You know, you need to have somebody right there on spot.
And we can all read stories and we can all listen to everybody else's story, but it's the people live there. You're exactly right. So, like a nice dining experience as well. Together, we call it the Mayflower experience. We are the only company, and we're going back to this. During the pandemic, we had a kind of a lapse in guaranteed share. If you're a single person, can't find a roommate, your travel companion doesn't want to go on this one, check with Marlia. Marlia might have another single gal or single guy looking for a roommate, so you don't have to pay the single supplement. I am warned, though, Marlia, not a matchmaking service. Is that what you told me?
Absolutely.
You're a female.
Luck of the draw.
You're looking at a female looking for a male. I don't think that's Marlia's responsibility.
Yeah. Rhonda does have a good list of those that are looking for a roommate, and this has worked out well for several single ladies. They found somebody they like to travel with, and it works perfect. From there on, any place they want to go, they've got a roommate and somebody they've already gotten to know. So
we have the guaranteed share program. So put it all together, we call it the Mayflower experience, and away we go. And here's our fearless travelers packed at the. I like this picture, by the way.
That's Cuba. Off to Cuba.
This one's off to Cuba. How many? I'm just looking. Here's 3 of you travelers, but doesn't matter the quantity. If it's 5, if it's 105, every destination has a story. So I like when you're at the airport, packed, ready to go. Isn't that one of the most exciting days?
We got in and out of there just before they closed us down.
There you go. So go when you can. And
yeah.
Certainly the pandemic.
It wasn't me, really.
If it's taught us anything, right? Go when you can.
Absolutely.
So we're going to take a look at the map. Again, leaving from Des Moines, we find to Boston. I wish I could promise direct flights, but of course, I don't think Des Moines has any direct flights.
We're in the Midwest,
Yep. So we'll get you to Boston. For our first night, we'll be there. From there, we're going to head on down. You'll see the map heading south toward Plymouth. A stop at the Plymouth Rock on our way for our 2 nights at the Red Jacket Blue Water Hotel. So we have a great old-time resort that we're staying at there for 2 nights. From there, you'll see one of our day trips. It's going to be down to Martha's Vineyard, which is a real treat. Right so close, but without the ferry and the plan, the time to do it, most people miss it. So excited to have that as part. And again, you talk about bucket list destination, Marlia. I think that's one of them. On from there, over to Newport, Rhode Island, home of the rich and the famous. You've heard of the Breakers Mansion. We're going to bring you into the Breakers, owned by Cornelius Vanderbilt. And from there, traveling on through Maine, as you see, on the way to Brattlesboro for one night. Then we're on up for 2 nights up in Lincoln. And imagine this in October. You'll see the pictures coming. What a great place to be in October. So 2 nights.
And the evening you have to watch for the moose.
There you go. And also remember, this is another 2-night at a resort. So when you see the property, I think you'll see where that is. And please, if you get a chance, you can research it off the brochure, which, by the way, Maria, I got a new copy this morning. Has your picture on, has the logo on it. We'll get that to you. So anybody that needs a brochure, get that emailed to you right away.
Right.
From Lincoln, you'll see we're up to the Mount Washington Cog Railway through the Bretton Woods. On over one night in Scarborough, past the as we come south back to Boston to catch our flight out. We'll be seeing Kennebunk, just on our way down to Boston, and then we're going to fly back. So there's our 8-day, 13-meal itinerary, and welcome to Boston. Of course, Boston, one of the great old cities of the USA. Great history. And I just love the way the old buildings are amongst the new. When you look at this downtown setting, you think, oh my goodness, modern city, and it's just built around this historic plaza, the Faneuil Hall, and the old Confederate building, where, if you can imagine, they read the preliminary Constitution off the balcony. They still had a town crier, and that's how they read the news of independence from England. So that's how historic Boston.
It's a neat little marketplace right there with it also.
Faneuil
Hall.
Yeah. So, and we're staying at a beautiful downtown property. This is the Boston Park Plaza. So, great place. I tease with Maria, we should almost put a second night here. You know, it's like you want to go in a day early and just try to take this area in, because from the property, you know, it's just easy walk to the, and you're right on the red trail. They've got colors of bricks through the city, red, white, and blue, that you can. But starts with a great property. You can see pretty modern. The sites from whatever room you're in will be of that modern city we're talking about, and overlooking the bay. They do have an incredible subway system. If you remember, the big gig took what was it, 10 years over budget, what, 13 billion over budget or something.
And awfully hard to get a motor coach downtown through that big dig too, when you're taking a group down through. I remember it.
So you see a very nice property. Got a little video I thought was kind of fun. Merle, can you hear the music?
Just barely. It's low, but we can hear it.
They have background music, so just please, just enjoy the scenery. Always a great way to share is moving pictures.
Love those lobsters.
hoping that gives you a little bit of the sense of energy and the beauty. I joke with him. I said, get some more foliage pictures in there because it's so beautiful. So he's got a great historic area, complemented with, of course, the leaf change.
And it really is. The colors are just vibrant when you see them on both in the white and green mountains. They're just vibrant.
And they always ask, what's peak season? Is that early? Is that late? You know, Mother Nature still has a play in it. So we can never guarantee, but by covering the area from north to south like we are, the chance of the vibrant leaves are somewhere. So we're always, again, it's the right time to be there. So again, we're going to wake up our next morning from that beautiful Boston property, and we're going to be doing a guided tour. Can't promise, but often the guides are in costume, and they take us walking down the Freedom Trail. Includes of course, the famous statue of Paul Revere, to the public gardens, where it's a man-made lake. If you know Boston at all, they've reclaimed a lot of this land. It used to be a larger harbor, and they keep taking out land or replacing it. They're building up the land, and a lot of this area is all reclaimed land. So it might remind you a little of Amsterdam, Marlia.
Yeah. Do they still have the swan boats in the public gardens?
Swan boats are still in the public gardens. I get asked that, and I don't want to promise there's time to do them.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be out.
But just seeing the swan boats out are so quintessential Boston, isn't it? So we've got the landmarking all the way to the Old North Church, where, of course, remember, it was one-if by land and two-if by sea, how the British were coming. So a great little history tour. And so imagine getting up in the morning, buffet breakfast at the hotel, and you say, well, what's the hotel's going to be like now? Will there be buffets? Will there, and I've been traveling a little bit the past 2 weeks, and I'm seeing a mix. I've been in places with boxed breakfast. I've got places that have a full buffet. I've got places with a full buffet, but they have to put the scrambled eggs on your plate. So, some of these questions I can't answer.
That's what we ran into coming back from New Mexico too. It's as our time changes and things open up a little more. It isn't even week by week. It's kind of hour by hour, I think, anymore.
True story. So we're going to go with an open mind like we do on every trip, but this one might be, it's a first time out for a lot of people. So we went through a lot of protocol to make sure the properties we're staying at, the motor coach companies we're using, the guides are trained, and more details will come as we get closer. I just don't know some of those questions yet. So imagine the morning tour, nice little city tour, and then we're going to end up with lunch at Faneuil Hall. And if you've been in this area at all, it's fabulous. And Marlene, I know you can vouch. As you walk through the hall, there's samples on both sides, and I fill up.
Best place for steak sandwiches: hoagie roll, steak sandwich. Eat outside.
I was going to those lobster roll sandwiches. Wait a minute.
No, that's Kennebunkport.
Let's just say it's amazing, and some great food as well. So from there, we are, as we mentioned before, we're going to motor coach down to Plymouth Rock. We're going to see that gigantic rock, right, Marlia? It's that gigantic.
Yeah.
And but truly, it's this is where it all started. Where the Mayflower would have landed, and first stone or not, is the area where they started. When you see that area, you can imagine the start. So.
Remember that little tune everybody learned in elementary school, the year 1620, the Pilgrims came over across the sea. They landed at Plymouth Rock. So you have to remember the date and the time.
So,
and lobster bake. Yum.
Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1642, but
there you go.
But anyway, that's how I remember. Anyway, we're going to make it to our hotel that night. That area, we're going to have our lobster bake. Obviously, something a lot of us love lobster. For you that don't, it's fine. Just put it in a doggy bag, send it to me. That's fine with me. There is always an alternate plate as well, but the sweet corn, I like this pan here with the mussels and all the seafood. It's interesting when I go to Nova Scotia, they actually serve the lobster on ice. But when I'm in New England, I get the hot lobster, and I personally enjoy that more.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a lobster bake. On our way to our 2 nights at the Red Jacket Blue Water Resort. And when I say resort, always different than a hotel property. And this was from the days of the family getaways. They call it the Gilded Age. It's a beautiful older resort dressed as this modern sandals type of property. It's just so comfortable, and it's like stepping back in time.
And that's part of New England, is you feel like you step back into time. The white churches and the older properties and these family resorts. That's New England at its best.
So it's just a fantastic place, and again, a great place to hang your hat for 2 nights. And you can see very comfortable, very colonial, and for you that want to get your feet in the water, in October the water's still fine, but you can see the beautiful sand beach. So private area just for this resort. On our day trip out from there, we're off to ferry. We take the ferry to Martha's Vineyard. A lot of you realize this is an island, and it was the center for the Methodists originally when they were talking about religious freedoms. They actually came to this area. I did not know, though, and I'm looking at Gay's Head, the pink sands of Gay's Head. I'll remind you a little bit of Nova Scotia again with that East Coast. They have the original Aboriginal American Indians dated back to 2270 BC in this area. And that was before the water rate rised enough, so they said this was actually part of the land and where the Indian settlement was. But actually carbon dated to 2270. Life here from 2070 BC, I didn't know that. So
wow, yeah.
Learn something every day, and don't worry, Marlea will have full notes.
I'll add that to my list of facts here.
that I'm serious, blew me away.
Yeah, I did not know that.
But this is the home of the Edgerton Methodist Camp. And back in 1835, again, they were looking for religious freedoms, is why people came to America. And this Methodist group, you see in the background, they had tents, and they would have a week, and it became a 2-week evangelistic rally, and they had the religious freedom. So look at the picture on the right. They started building these quaint little homes, these little cottages, which of course we know today as we want to see the gingerbread cottages right on Clinton Avenue. And the big difference, I think, when you look at the pictures they had pretty big trees then, and now they're huge. Great little walk. It's peaceful. It's very artsy. If you love the art, you see local artists will have their things on display. If you buy a poster or painting, you can roll it up to get it home, put it in a tube to travel home with. Sometimes people are sitting right on the front porches inviting you in to see their cabins. So these are built as vacation homes. And of course, today some are lived in full time, some are kind of open for the tourists. So it just makes, the whole reason to go to Martha's Vineyard is that feeling of peace, and that Methodist camp kind of proves it. Just had the open-mindedness and the laid back. So it'll be a fun day. So then the next day we'll check out of our resort and head over to Newport, Rhode Island. A beautiful city. They've redone it so much. Between you and me, it used to be a little dirtier, and they've just spent so many millions of dollars to clean it up. So now it's this beautiful harbor area, great places to eat. There's breweries and little shops for shopping right along this harbor. So you see a lot of the private yachts, big boats, sailing boats to yachts like you see there on the left. So
this is one of my bucket list places. I've always wanted to see the breakers. So
and you're there. So
yeah.
Newport is our host, is our home, but the breakers is something incredible that you all have to see someday. And if you know anything all about the story, Cornelius Vanderbilt, one of these rich men from railroads, was his claim to fame. But they had the first newspapers, the railroads, the transportation, rubber tires, the Goodyears, all bought these properties. Mr. Vanderbilt, Cornelius anyway, bought this property back in those days for $450,000, and it burned to the ground. So he had a designer come in and said, "Hey, I want something that's fireproof," and he came up with this Italian Renaissance mansion of 70 rooms, 125,000 square feet. So I know some of you have big homes, 5,000 square feet. 62,000 square feet of living space. It's an amazing cabin. It was complete. It was only built over. It only took 3 years to build, with all the imports and such. But it is breathtaking and so magnificent to see. He actually left it to his daughter, who did deed it over to the Historical Society that maintain it now. Here's one of those places you get the headsets, and you put your headsets on, and you can follow the space. So if you want to hear about this room, you can click in 13 and listen to that room. So instead of a guided tour, where you feel like you're kind of being rushed, I love this type of touring because you can kind of go at your own pace. And some people get through the whole house. We're not going to tour all 70 rooms, but some people only make the main floor, It's dramatic. And just the wealth it reeks from this. I was told, though, this house doesn't have the dining room table that goes down to the floor. In other words, some of these houses were so extravagant you could actually build, and after you were done for dinner, everybody just rolled back from the table. And the table was lowered by gears. That part of the floor was lowered down. They moved that table, brought the dessert table up. And the dessert table would come up with wine, desserts, and cigars. And Cornelius didn't even have that. It's like, just a poor man's house here. But as you can see, the pictures, it's just fantastic. And he was also so scared of fire from then on. He actually put his furnace underground out in the lawn with everything piped into the house because he didn't want any fire. There's no wood framing, hardly any wood except for what you see, but all that imported Italian marble, flooring, pillars. It was beautiful and definitely on the bucket list, Malia.
I'm glad I don't have to clean that chandelier.
The Historical Society does now.
Yeah.
So from there, now we've got kind of our little city feel, even the slope town feel. We're going to head out to the And this is where noses are pressed against the motor coach doors because these curving roads will take us past the white steepled churches. This one happens to be in Grafton. We're going to get you in one of these to make sure, it's not just drive-bys. I want pictures. I want detail. And even some of them have the old, each family had their own little box. Like they had their own little area, which had a bench in it. It wasn't for the kids to sit and play as much as that was the family seats. So you knew when you weren't in church. Everybody knew that the Schultzes weren't here this week because their block was empty. So see some of those.
You feel like you're stepping right back into revolutionary times when you start hitting these back roads.
Well, that's why I say I never want to overbuild it to where it's so fancy. It's not. It's laid back. It's real. Narrow streets. The motor coaches. You're going to love your drivers, professional drivers, because those narrow streets, you can't imagine how they're going to fit through there. That's how it is. And you can't widen the streets because the sidewalks are narrow and the buildings are straight up. So it's how it is. It's how it's always been. Yeah. It's going to stay that way. So one of our features here as we head north is the famous Vermont Country Store.
Have my catalog from there.
We got a catalog.
You bet.
Because
Love it.
they claim to have it all. Have it all.
I think so.
So again, great places to pick.
They have Midnight in Paris perfume and Blackjack gum.
Where else can you find Blackjack gum?
Yeah, for Midnight in Paris perfume. Yeah.
So makes a great stop, and of course you start thinking about maple syrups and things of the area, and you'll pretty much see it all here. And this is just the front of the store. Obviously, if you look at the wings, it's a big store, bigger than the pictures show. But what you truly see is you motor coach through, and just each day is a different views, different areas. We'll actually go past Woodstock. Excuse me. It was voted pretty small town America. Pretty small town America. When you think of Woodstock, we think of the concert. you read about those stories, it was just on a hillside to where they could seat a lot of people, natural amphitheater, if you will. So once they built the stage, they said, we really don't know who's coming, but they got great talent to come in. Some of you went to it.
Beautiful white hotel there, and first place I ever had a turkey sandwich with cheese and raw sliced green apple on it was in Woodstock at one of their little restaurants. It's a quaint little town, real artsy.
Yeah, and you will get this artsy feel wherever you go. We're going to the Grand Canyon of the Northeast. The little Grand Canyon, and you see it's not near like a grand, but it's a big deal. It's the Kichi Gorge up in Vermont. And you see over years how these rivers just score a path through the path of less resistance and create these canyons.
You can walk right out on that bridge and look right down on it too.
That's the view from the bridge.
Yeah, it is. Just look right down.
I mentioned we were going to stay 2 nights at another very nice resort. This is the Mountain Club at Loon. So as you can tell, all the rooms have the views of either the mountains on either side. You mentioned before the Green Mountains were here. They're actually part of the Appalachian chain, but there's a Green Mountain, and then close to the water is actually the White Mountain Range. Nestled right in the center is this beautiful resort we're going to be at for 2 nights. We're going to a place, and I love this picture because you're going, wait a minute, Franconia Gorge, or Notch, this is where the old, if you get a quarter of New Hampshire, it says on the back, it's the man in the mountain.
Too bad we lost him.
And
Too bad we lost him.
We lost the man in the mountain, so now it's the man at the bottom of the hill.
This is where it used to be. It's one of those used to be places.
So
but it wasn't
again,
easy to see.
Maria, why do we travel? Well, you get to see it while you can.
That's it. I didn't even realize for a while it was gone. Isn't that funny? In the Midwest, you don't hear about it as much. Right. And all of a sudden it was, what do you mean it's gone? The mountain collapsed.
And they had actually started to support it with cables. And they had tried to maintain it. But why I put this Franconia Notch picture is because, it's awfully green. Wow.
There we go.
Breathtaking.
And it's a beautiful drive through there, face or not.
I just had to show why people go to New England. And I know some of you have beautiful trees at home, and there's areas with beautiful maples. For some reason, they're just more of a collection out here, and even a more beautiful quilt than you even have at your home.
Well, different parts of the country, with the altitude and with the variety of trees. This is totally different than the Midwest, and totally different than we see in Tennessee, in the Smokies, with the pink tones. Every area has its own vibrant color.
Yep. Covered bridges, still known in this area. We get a chance to stop, take some pictures, walk through some covered bridges. Obviously, our motor coach doesn't go through a bridge like this. And then I think kind of a neat treat is we're going to go to the highest point on the East Coast. And we're taking this cog railway. Cog rail was actually started in 1869, so it just tells you the grandeur view of what it would take to get up here. And they built these. Now it's an eco diesel that pushes you up. It used to be a steam engine, and simply just wasn't consistent. Too much work. And these new trains bring you up to the top. It's a great little cart here. But if you can imagine this. That route, and here I love this picture because you kind of see how it takes off there at the beginning. This route is 9 miles. It takes a short 3 hours to get to. So if you can imagine just the pace, but the grades go from 25% grade. So on 100 foot, it goes up 25 feet, up to 38% grade. So beyond, I think, any of our imaginations until you get on the train itself, up to the peak up there at 6,288 foot. Heading on, we're going to head over to North Conway, the great white steeple churches on our drive through these small towns, on our way to the famous Kankamongas Highway. And
most scenic drive in America.
Most scenic drive in America. They claim it's 34 miles long. Every turn. And I think what they've done, Merle, and I think you agree, they didn't widen the road. They didn't put a 4-lane through here. So I'm not going to lie, it gets a little busy. So
take your Dramamine.
how did they ever get this picture is my question, because
I'm surprised they've got a picture that doesn't have any traffic on it, because
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It is such a busy road, but it is known as the most scenic drive in America.
So get the great sights, just beautiful views every corner. About, as I mentioned, 34 miles long. We picked that beautiful drive to this. I love this one. We all need to take a drone, get a drone shot here of that beautiful byway, and of course part of the White Mountains. So we've gone from the green through the valley there onto the White Mountains again, Appalachian chain. But I love this shot. This is the frost line. Your first thought is, oh, look at the snow-capped mountains. Well, actually, it's where the clouds hang, and the clouds will freeze into the trees of the higher elevations. And here we see the frost line looking like snow-capped mountains.
Well, and Mount Washington has the weather station on top of it. So.
Right. And here you see you mentioned this earlier.
Lake Winnipesaukee.
You didn't tell me we were including the lake cruise, but yes, we are. Of course we are. Because here's your chance to see, and everybody knows the views from the water are always different than the views from the road. And the mansions, you don't even see them from the road. You've got to take a cruise. So we're going to the MS Mount Washington. You mentioned the Dramamine before, Maria. This ship is over 200 feet long.
Yeah.
People don't really have a lot of issue with it. Of course, there's going to be some movement. On the Dramamine day, on the Kankamangas Highway Day, maybe we want to take an extra one for this, but the 200-foot ship that's going to take us around that lake, a nice cruise. You see the beautiful highlights along the edges here. Boy, there's a gorgeous, quiet evening. That reminds me of Clear Lake right there, when it's just smooth, silky smooth.
Beautiful, yeah. Don't we wish, yeah.
And get the reflections out from the other side.
Gorgeous.
From there, we sooner or later, we got to go home, so we're going to have our farewell dinner, and then we're going to come along the coast. And when you go along the coast, the east coast of the U.S., for you folks that love lighthouses, that's usually what ends up to be our photo stops. So when we're on motor coach with Mayflower, we don't like to have the other coach more than an hour and a half, 2 hours maxed, personal breaks, photo stops, snack breaks, whatever. So as we're heading back down the coast now, we try to get some great photo stops for you. But the farewell dinner is up in that area, and then through Kennebunkport on our way back, and gotta come home. Fabulous 8-day getaway. I mentioned before the 13 meals, different locations. All the breakfasts are included. A couple lunches and a few dinners, but always a little bit of time. If you see a date that at the end of the day it says breakfast, lunch, dinner, if it's missing a dinner, normally that means we've got several options. And sometimes it's nicer to have a kind of a free night that you can go pick where you want to eat. You want to have a New England steak where everybody said, oh, we got the seafood. Well, everybody likes to kind of each his own. So if you see a place where there's no meal included, it's usually because there's lots of great choices. So again, like I mentioned before, and Marlene, you can add to this, the pre-night is not included on this one.
Right, we've left it because we're not sure what our air right now is just, screwy is kind of an odd word, but air schedules with people getting back into the air and flying. We're not sure that. We like to do that pre-night because it's fun to get together and just meet everybody, visit for a few minutes, and then do our shuttle. Plus the airport hotel we use. If you do the pre-night, you can park your car there at no charge.
Nice.
So we like to do that airport hotel for those that wish it, and not have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Drive in for a 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. flight.
Right. So looking here, it also includes, we have a promotion on this with $199 airfare.
Unbelievable.
Great deal on air for reservations through May 25th. Now, everybody says, when's the last day I can sign up for this trip? It's the day before the last seat is sold. And I say that because for this trip, and I know Merlin knows this, we have 20 seats available. So it's not like we went out and got the full coach. If we need more space, we'll talk about it. We'll always work it out. But we had to get back from Portland before we could leave, right?
That's about it. It's a little crazy scheduling this year. Well, and with that also, because I know the question's going to come up, Kit, and I know you'll be bringing it up, but we are keeping seating limited on all the motor coaches at this time. So space on the motor coaches, again, is limited, as you've been hearing from us, because we're keeping people separated for everybody's safety at the moment. So it's crazy. It's going to sell out fast because everybody wants to get going someplace.
Get your plans made. So it says when reservations are made by May 25th, you can get the $199 airfare. So the $34.28 is accurate. That's the price you pay. But anybody that waits until May 1, all bets are off.
Or June 1, yeah. It's and there's no telling. You know, we're seeing airfares going every place on the map right now.
Yeah, and
it's the only way to put it.
Remember, folks, the main routes, they built those schedules. Well, they're keeping adding equipment, larger planes, adding things. I had a group that went to Charleston this past week, and we had to set them up from Chicago, believe it or not, to Charleston. It wasn't even a direct flight. As we got close to departure, they all became direct flights to and from, and we flew both American and United. We had split the group in two. Again, for the social distancing. So we'll see what the rules are by the time we go. If you've got some of those, I just have to say thanks for your patience.
It's our new normal. We're all traveling in a new normal. And we're just going to get used to it.
So again, when we say May 25, just keep in mind, or until space allows, period. That's the big thing. For you that have been on a Mayflower trip, you're going to find out in your document packet, you always get these Mayflower dollars, Mayflower money. You can take that off toward this trip, toward your next Mayflower trip, wherever it is, both international and domestic. So when you get the coupon, don't think it's for the on ships. It's not for your what do they call those onboard credit. it's actually toward your next trip with Mayflower. The deposit is only $200, and the travel protection is $200. So a $400 deposit will get you the deposit for saves your space and is the travel protection included. Final payment is right around 60 days before we fly. I threw out August 1, whenever Rhonda sends it.
Rhonda will have it down.
They'll have
right.
it, so that's pretty darn close. For leaving on the 7th, it's probably April 7, and she'll send it on the 1st. You know what I mean. Gets us in season. The traveler's protection is $200 per person. We do have the travel protection that does protect you if canceled for any reason to the day before you fly. You get all your money back except the $200. People always want a clarification on that, but what we buy the travel protection for is, number one, it protects you before you go. So once it's paid in full, you've got a legitimate investment. We don't want your money. Nobody wants your money. We want your travel experiences. So the $200 is what you risk. If you use it, doctor says don't fly, life changes, you do need to cancel. This is what all you would lose is the $200. So that's before the trip. On the trip, it's additional health insurance. It starts at $1 instead of at your deductible. It's got baggage delay. If your bags don't land within 24 hours of your body, you can get reimbursed for things that you buy, necessities that you gotta have on the trip. It's got trip delay, tied up somewhere. It's got a 14-day trip interruption. 14-day, what's that sound like? It might be a quarantine period. So it's actually protecting you up to 14 days in a situation that is out of your control so many times. So that's all in there. Oh, and the big one, Maria, I know you agree with this one. It's emergency transportation to get you home. Something happens to you, or something happens to somebody at home, and you have to get home before the time, the scheduled return. It's all in there. So we think it's a great value. Highly recommend it. So most people just say it's $400 for the deposit, and by giving it at the time of deposit, you get your pre-existing medical conditions included. You know, that concern you had 3 years ago, it rears its ugly head when you're ready to go on this trip, and they say, "Oh no, it's a pre-existing medical condition." You're covered by putting in your travel protection at the time of deposit. So, Maria, agree?
Yeah, it's looking good. It's going to be fun. It's covering a lot of that area. We're doing 6 states for those of you that are marking states off your maps or your scratched off maps or your bucket lists. We're going to be sliding through the corner of Connecticut on one of those highways, so that's how we're picking up our 6th state.
It's our 6th state.
Other than Rhode Island, so we've got New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, with Kennebunkport, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and then we're going to pick up that little bitty tip of Connecticut to mark off, the list on your bucket list with it. Not only the White and Green Mountains, we're going to go through the Berkshire Hills on the way up through there. So we're going to touch a lot of that. We're going to give you a good taste of New England, of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. It's the taste with those colors, but adding a couple extra things that a lot of times you want to go back and do, but you're not sure if you want to go out and do one thing, or I want to see the breakers, but I want to see Martha's Vineyard, but what do I do otherwise? So what we've done is we've taken that whole tuck it, and touch it and get it off on your bucket list with it. Rhonda's in the office, crazy busy today. I apologize to those that thought she was maybe going to be on with us. It got a little busy for her. But you know how to get a hold of her at rhonda.northlandtravel.com or at the 877-694-8687 number, very easily with questions or whatever. Terry and I are around for those of you that kind of know how to find us, although I will say, with travel heating up, I took a look at the calendar, and we're kind of, like I said, one side to the other side to hopefully across the water yet this year. So it's a crazy year for us that are anxious to get out and go places. We're doing everything we can with the CDC. Kent, I'm sure you're right there with us too.
You have to.
We're watching everything with the CDC guidelines that we need to, not only on our coaches. We see that the airlines, yes, for you that have asked, the airlines are opening up a little more with their travel. In fact, this morning on the news, they said travel this last week is up 100% from last year.
Yeah,
which is great with the airlines.
5 million people. 5 million, 1.8 million people a day through the holidays.
So, we're still masks, washing your hands, all those basic guidelines that are with us. We need to be watching, and we're going to have that with us, as I said, our new normal. And we're getting used to it, and we're all going to travel and go with our new normal and get fun things and do fun things. And it's time to get out there. There's a whole big world to see, and maybe a lot of you are going to feel a lot more comfortable starting in the U.S. than you are overseas. Whatever your comfort level is we want to be there for you and get you through it. But we want to see those things, and you've got to see them while they're there.
And do keep in mind, we have the Poland trip going this fall.
Yep.
It's all systems go. So we're going to continue to promote
like
that.
Like I said, we're
Poland.
We're for those that have asked kind of what our fall looks like, not only our summer, because Terry and I are headed east and west ourselves personally this summer again to do some things, but we're headed we're Oregon to Poland to New England, bing 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 this year. So we're anxious to get out there. We've kind of all sat around for that year, and let's face it, we've all got all those travel funds that we were going to spend 2 years ago. We waited. We were going to spend last year. Yeah. We're adding ours into 2021 and getting started, because 2021 and 2022 is going to be full and fun, and we're hoping that you travel with us, really. And thank you so much for attending today and visiting. Share this link with your friends. You'll have a copy of the link, and go on to Northland and share it. And give us a call if you've got any questions, and join us. We're going to have fun in New England.
Sounds outstanding. If there's any questions, if you want to jump over on the Q&A section, I don't have any typed in right now.
Let's see. I don't see anything. Yes, if anybody's got anything out there.
Everybody's great listeners today, and hopefully excited to go. The brochure, again, we kind of rushed this, but we'll get the brochure. Merle, you're going to have that on your email.
Rhonda will have them at the office.
So, but we'll have it in your hands in 15 minutes. So anybody will probably send it right to everybody who attended, and the link will come tomorrow. So
sounds great.
From Kat Van Rukel Mayflower, thanks for joining us. Delighted to be here. Delighted to partner with Merle at Northland Travel. please stay safe. You know, do what you're doing, but stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you on the roads.
Thanks.